As early as 1990, as Bobby reminded us last night, at Rabun Gap, right, we began the journey of what would the methodology, the pedagogy, the philosophy of Supercamp and all of its rich input from Lozanoff and Bucky Fuller and all of that brilliance that came together to form this thing called Supercamp, and the impact it was having. Couldn't it be possible that every student in every classroom could have an optimal learning experience? Is it possible? Absolutely. And so in the formation, the reformation of all of that, we studied deeply what is the stuff that goes on in Supercamp that gets the results, and hence packaged in this thing that we later called quantum learning, and that you're here to learn more about. So as early as 1990, that work has been happening. And this morning, we've carved out time in a little segment called The World of QL. Today, highlight, bring to your attention, and also for you to feel both the essence of the work that these people are doing, and they're with us because of the longevity that they have had with us. So if you'd please help me welcome the following people to the front of the room. Terry Bell, Cypress Fairbanks. Go ahead. Yes, yes. Good. We'll bring up Kathy Vinson for right now from Sumner County. And Patty Brucky from Thornton Township. Are you okay with these chairs here?
Sure.
All right. Good. Yeah? Good. Excellent. All right. So here's what's going to happen for the next few moments. You feel so, yeah, huh?
I said I hope it holds me up.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. We're going to believe that to be true. Yes. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's what's going to happen. They're going to answer a question in just a moment, and we'll hear from each of them. And then individually, in the order that you see here, they will present to you for a short while about their journey, about the impact of quantum learning, what possibly have been some challenges, and they have formulated, and you could imagine knowing ahead of time, just put yourself here for just a moment, like the amount of thinking you would have done, right? The amount of preparation, all the things you could have shared, right? And know that you've got this much time to pull together 10 or 15 years of work with quantum learning. All right. So here we go. Let's do this question. What does quantum learning mean to you in the organization and in the work that you do? All right, got that? All right, we'll start with you, Terry. Thanks.
Oh, sorry. For me, quantum learning within our organization, Cypress Fairbanks is a large suburban school district, 91 campuses, 117,000 students, that encompasses everything from 99% economically disadvantaged schools to 2% economically disadvantaged schools. So we have a very wide culture. And for me and for our district, I believe that quantum learning is a thread that can weave throughout any campus that it's facilitated on. And that's what it's become in our district.
Oh, can I just say ditto? For me personally, quantum learning, I was introduced to it several years ago, and I think that it's just become very much a part of who I am as an educator, and it is something that we are in our county as well, trying to weave through the district, and we have a very diverse county and campuses, and just sharing that throughout all of the buildings and building that balance of the culture and the cognition and helping teachers to be more effective. It's very powerful.
Ditto, ditto. And I'd like to add that in the longevity of it for our teachers since 1996, it's also been our staple
and for many of us, our survival. Because Super Camp can't happen for 180 days, 185 if you include snow days. And many of our teachers are also coaches, and many of those teacher coaches are also sponsors, and they're also parents. And many of them are going through their personal lives, and so they have the energy that they have, and learning how to be their best present selves in a community of other people who really, really get it. Even when the politics of a district change, or the really great grown-ups who write the checks to get our 5 peeps here change. How do we continue to survive? We keep going back to those things we believe in, which, Bobby, is that core, right? So that commitment. And many of us have made the commitment to deepen not only our understanding, which we're always doing, but then also our delivery.
So Terry, how about if you get us started? And here's what we're going to do. We'll move some chairs over. So if we'll move chairs over here and open up the space here. There we go. Good. Yeah. Or over there. That's a great place too. Just wanted to keep you together as a unit, that's all.
Visual learners, you can't split this.
Yes, yes. Okay. All right, so Terry, yeah, get us started. And you can sit and stand and whatever you like to do.
Okay, so I'm also a facilitator, so I don't always need a microphone either. So Mark asked me to kind of think about some questions as I started, and of course I made my notes because they're my security blanket. I don't know how many of you have security blankets that you keep with you all the time. Yes. For us, our district, how it began was a flyer that an elementary curriculum coordinator picked up at a conference, some unknown place for some unknown reason, that was the birth of quantum learning in Cypress Fairbanks Independent School District. From that flyer and that day, fast forward 15 years later, we're still going strong. We've gone through a lot of transformations in our district. What has made the longevity? What has made this train the train that stopped and stayed a while? Because I don't know about you as an educator, for us, lots, being from a very large district, everybody wants a piece of Cy-Fair. Everybody wants their train to roll through. Everybody wants it to stop and become a part of the culture of our district. So what has made quantum learning special? Why has it stayed? For us, I think it started as teachers having lots of aha moments. Moments of, oh, that's why I've been doing this all these years. That's why I've been using color in my lessons. Oh, that's why I had them sketch pictures. Oh, wow. And then everything got super intentional. A lot of teachers thinking, this is it. Not even connecting to the keys, but just saying, this is it, this is it. And then having very wise people in our district that realized that the energy that was coming alive with teachers was something that we needed to hold on to. And that's when our facilitation program began. And it started with Cadre 1. We have currently 4 cadres that we've worked with teachers in our district, where we have created facilitators that have trained our teachers. Now, hundreds of trainings and literally, I would say, thousands of teachers in Cypress Fairbanks that have been trained for quantum learning. And even though that sounds like such a large number, it's still just a fraction of who we are and the people that we touch. Quantum learning has truly woven into the culture of our district. Even teachers that have never been to a training, who have never seen a quantum learning training, who have never signed up for the essentials, design and delivery, or classroom culture and management, even though they've never signed up for those trainings, you still see it coming out in their classrooms. How? They've never seen a content poster or why you use it. They've never been trained on why you do a callback or why you incorporate visual, auditory, and kinesthetic motion into your classroom. They've never been trained on any of that. Why are they doing it? Because that's the evidence that it is woven into the culture. You see it show up in trainings with administrators. You see it show up in trainings for teachers by administrators that have never been trained in quantum learning. You see it show up in our curriculum. In SciFair, I would say that if you have not been quantum learning trained, you're working at a disadvantage because it's so woven into our curriculum that as a teacher, to not understand the why behind what you're seeing sometimes can be challenging. So I tell my teachers all the time, if you haven't done quantum learning, you're working at a disadvantage. You really need to take these courses. It will help you to understand what's happening. For teachers, it's just the day-to-day. It's the day-to-day grind, the in, the out, the getting started, the closing the day. Why do I begin with a clean ending? Why do I begin with a clean opening and a clean ending? Why do I do the things that I do? And quantum learning has provided us a venue and an avenue to teach that. I think the other reason that it's stuck around in SciFair so long is the passion behind the people that love it so much. We started off as teachers using it in our classrooms and being just amazed at the transformations that it was making. And we knew that it was something that we wanted to stay. And then along the way, other people in our district have bought into that same thing. And even though I don't know that Glenda ever used it in her classroom or Tanya, but they support us with full hearts and with just compassion and energy to keep us moving forward. Now, to say that this has happened without challenges would not be true. We've definitely had challenges over the years. One of the most recent challenges has been the transformations that have come through quantum learning, the rewriting of curriculum. When you do something for 15 years, if it doesn't change, then something's wrong with it. Things should change. Things change in the world and in the research and the things that we have. And so as we've gone through the growing pains of quantum learning with, I feel like, Mark and Bobby and Jenny and the other facilitators that have supported us and trained us along the way, we've had to reflect on what we were doing. For us, the big phrase became what's being left on the table with the scarves. Because to a lot of teachers, it was all about the show. You know, it's, oh, this was a great show, but how do I put this into effect into my classroom? And so for us as a district, we began to really analyze what are we doing, because it was all about the show, and we started to lose connections with the purpose behind it. For teachers to actually be able to walk out of that training room and implement in their classroom authentically the next day. That's our goal. Take something with you and implement it. And so what we found was we started getting very explicit when we did it. For example, Christina Hoover, who's one of our facilitators, came to my campus and did a half-day training for me on February the 18th. And the one thing that I noticed, the difference that I saw, was that she was very explicit. After she modeled something and did a piece, she would share, why did I do this? What is this going to look like in your classroom? Turn and talk to the person next to you. How are you going to use this tomorrow? What is this going to look like for you? And so when we started doing that, what we found was the comment that I got the other night when a teacher called me. We just had a huge benchmark in elementary school, which for us is very an intense process. Our district ranks us from 1 to 56. And so we know where we fall as far as our benchmark scores go, and the teachers have a lot of anxiety and stress over that. And so she called me, Miss Bell, I'm so sorry. My benchmark scores were terrible. I don't know. I know that it's bad, but I can do it. And I'm like, relax. Take a deep breath. We're all waking up in the morning. It's going to be fine. And she said, but I have this really great idea. From our training with Hoover the other day, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to use my anchor charts purposefully. What I've learned is that I haven't been doing that. I have a solution. Ah. Angels began to sing. I was like, this is it. Again, the key, this is it. This is it. This is why we train. This is why we do what we do. It's important, and it makes a difference in classrooms. So then, I'm looking at my questions. Why? Why is quantum learning still the hottest show in SciFair, right? Still the hottest show in SciFair. We do multiple trainings. People are always asking, when can we do it? Principals are still calling. Can I have a training? I called. I'm a facilitator, and I still called. I need a training on my campus. Teachers are still signing up. We still have sold out sessions. We run 3 courses in the spring, 3 courses in the fall, and tons in the summer, as many as people can fit in. Why do teachers still sign up? It's been 15 years. It's a long time. I have one teacher that's she took the 5 days trainings twice, and then she went through all of the 3 modules again. Why did she do it 3 times? She's a master teacher. And every time she said, I learned something new. I bring something up back to my classroom that I didn't have before that makes it a better place for kids. That's why we do what we do. And that's why I think in Cy-Fair Independent School District, quantum learning is still alive and strong 15 years later. And I want to thank Dr. Horner. I'm going to cry. Da-da-da-da-da. And Tanya Dixon for supporting us.
Yeah, nice.
Our county, my first experience, as I said, with quantum learning was probably 12, 13, 14 years ago with Dr. Jenny Severson came and was presenting, and I was in a session with over 100 educators from across the county. I had no idea what quantum learning was. My principal was like, hey, we need a team of people to go to this training. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And was just immediately in awe and just hooked and engaged. And the team of teachers I was with, we brought it back to our school. We took what we learned and we taught it to the teachers in our building, and it just became very much a part of who we were as a school and part of who I am, not only as an educator but as a person. I know I'm here with Rachel, a teacher in our district, and I know she has a very similar story as well. And so fast forward to now, the present time, this past year and a half, quantum learning, I think, for a lot of us who had been there from the beginning, it very much was who we were. And you could see evidence, just like Terry talked about, in different classrooms throughout the district. Sometimes I don't think the teachers could even articulate to you why they were doing what they were doing, but they were doing it. And we were lucky enough to have an assistant director in place, Dr. Jennifer Brown, who saw the need and felt the desire to bring quantum learning back to the forefront in our county. So about a year and a half ago, she put together a team of 12 facilitators from across the county. We have, of the 12 of us, every grade level is represented, every grade band. We have elementary, middle, and high school. And Jenny came back and trained us for about a week. She spent a week with us and has checked in with us periodically over that year and a half. And we have now been tasked with training the teachers in our county. So for the past year and a half, we have done county-wide trainings. We have gone to specific schools and done trainings. We have worked with principals at specific schools. And so now Rachel and I've had lots of conversations just this weekend of moving forward. What are we going to do next to keep it fresh and alive and to keep it in the forefront? And that was a big part of us coming to this conference, was to help get some ideas and think about what can we do to move it forward. One thing that we've talked a lot about is really engaging the facilitators with going out and making contact with these principals and talking to them about, here's what we can do for you, talking to them about what do you have a need for on your campus so that we can work to sort of tailor and support what they're needing. We just now, even in listening to opening sessions this morning, had a really brief conversation about making sure that we have that foundation of language and message through all of our presentations. I think that that's something that really came to light for both of us just being here these past couple of days. So we have the facilitators, like I said, about a year and a half, and we're really excited and pumped about what we can do moving forward and working to keep it just through all the schools throughout the district.
All right, can the District 205 peeps please come to the stage? In the interest of time, it was 1996. and a 22-year-old teacher got off the bus from Ohio State University because she had gone to super camp and she was a snarky teenager. And when she was done with super camp, she was on fire for everything that she could do to change the world. Her name was Sarah Singer Nori. What's her name? Sarah Singer Nori. But at that time, she was just Sarah Singer. And she wanted to come to a district where she could make a difference. And I'm going to tell you, Thornton District 205 was that place. We have been, for the long time now, a place where many of our students have what's called high ACEs scores. ACE meaning adverse childhood experiences, okay? And I was teaching at that time for about 5 years. I had just had my second child, and Sarah Singer Nori blows into town with this quantum learning experience. And I'm thinking to myself, this is good stuff. This makes sense to me. This makes sense in my brain. I love this. I'm engaged as a learner, and this is going to make me a better teacher. Wait a minute. I'm not just going to be a better teacher. I'm going to take some of this home. And so I take it home. I have conversations with my husband. I go back to my classroom. I teach. She observes me teaching. She gives me coaching. She says, "What are you doing this summer?" I said, "I don't know. Spending time with my kids, maybe." She says, She calls Bobby DePorter from my newly installed classroom phone. Calls Bobby DePorter, says, "Bobby, we got space for this woman to come to this thing called Know It by Heart, or what was it? Paving the Way. Patty, I'm going to put you in a tryout." A tryout? Tryout for what? Tryout to work your butt off at this place called Super Camp. Okay, right? I show up, and who is my fit instructor in the first fit of 1997? Mark Reardon! I'm so excited. My brain is going, gaga, gaga, gaga. It's amazing. I learned these things. I go to Super Camp. My husband comes with me. We shared a college dorm. We brought one of my students to be the nanny for the first 2 kids. We're talking about it at home. We're playing the game in the car called Living Above the Line. Where are we living, kids? That's right, okay? And then I'm going back to school and I'm talking to my students. Where are we living, kids? Exactly. And then what happens is my district says, "Hey, we got to get a grant. What we're going to do is we're going to get all the high school principals. We're going to get all the elementary school principals. You're all going to sign this document and say we're all going to get on board with quantum learning." They even got it into the churches. Next thing I know, there's a small group of us who are practicing these super camp skills in this framework called quantum learning. We're in the basements of churches talking about environment and atmosphere. We're talking about the 8 keys all over the place, right? And then I'm pregnant with my 3rd one, okay? And we're up on chairs and we're making it happen. And it's really, really good stuff. And it's in the schools and it's in the churches and people are on board. And then the grant runs out. But there's people who are carrying it, and we're going to keep doing it, and we're doing it at home. We're talking about it at our kitchen tables and in our marriages when it gets tough, and we're exhausted. And then the party continues because the depth and the breadth and the diversity come in. Each one, teach one.
And the ripple effect begins because in 1998, I couldn't get all my dates right, I met this wonderful, amazing person at a summer program that I was asked to go to be a part of a program called Acceleration, which was our math classes and our English classes, and a second period that was dedicated to quantum learning. And I learned from this amazing person next to me and am always in awe of anybody saying that I sound like her, so that I'm happy. And I began my journey of learning all about the strategies of quantum learning in this classroom that I was teaching, and took it to heart, made everything about it. I wrote my master's thesis on how my students performed the following years and how well it made them better in the classroom, and how they took all the strategies with them, and how much more better we saw our students become from it. And then the grant ran out. And I still kept it in my classroom. I still worked it in my classroom. And then eventually, this person over here got another role at school and brought a resurgence of quantum learning back. And the ripple effect then continued from there, because I then met this prop. Come on, prop. This is my prop. I interviewed this wonderful person right here for a teaching job. How many months after school started? He's coming into a classroom. The environment is already crazy because there were 3 subs before he even got in there. And I said, hey, I've got something I need you to do. I need you to come to a training with this woman here and be a part of Quantum Learning because it'll help you be amazing. And obviously it had helped him be amazing, and then he left us. And now he's here and we bring him Chicago sausages on the plane. So, and I did that with other mentees and other teachers, and people were in my classrooms, and I brought it, and I felt it that every teacher in our building needed to do that. I currently am a mentor coordinator, and it's a part of our program that all of the new teachers in our district go through new teacher training and have 2 days of quantum learning training in that. And we've encouraged as many teachers as we can, and it has made an impact on all of them. I have moved on and now am in a role of leadership where I want it to reach every student. So the more teachers that get trained, the more students that are going to have the experiences that we want them to have in a positive environment. I am a coordinator of the summer program for something called Boost, which is to take all of our incoming freshman students and invite them in, those that are below grade level, and try to help them prepare for high school in any way that we can. And when I became the leader, I got shot down the first year, and they said, no, we don't have any money to add quantum learning to this program. And I went back the next year and begged and said, no, I need this to happen. We need to put it in there. And so for the last 4 years, quantum learning is a major component of the Boost program. All of the kids go to it. And minus all of our data of what our school looks like, you now prop needs to go get to the next slide. Go prop, do your work. If you see our school district, and that's all of our information about what we are, go up, keep going. This is the student surveys that we took at the end of every year, because the first year I got shot down, they said I didn't have any data. So guess what? Where's the data need to come from? Come from the students. So over the last 3 years that I have data from the students, 80% or more of the students say, I'm going to use the PowerPegs and use it to help memorize lists. So they got to learn that. 90% of the students and above are saying that I'm going to use the 8 keys because it's going to help me in my life personally, and it's going to help me academically. Go up. I tried to make the graphs not so big. I'm a math teacher, so I like lots of, data to show everybody. The information I learned will help me in school and in life. 90% above every year the students are responding. I gained a better understanding of how my brain works, and I had fun learning. A lot of the students were just so excited to have that opportunity. The break itself, the brain break itself of going out of the classrooms, learning math, which none of our students love to do, and getting into another environment and actually doing something that's fun, but it's going to help them learn. So these are the responses from the students. We had fun while we were learning. I love the maze. I love learning about my brain. And the one at the bottom, which you probably can't read because it's too far away if you're old like me and can't see. When we had to partner up with each other and tell people what we liked about them and things like that. Here's our affinity happening in the classroom. One thing I would change. And they started responding. We asked them what they would change for the classroom, but they took it personally and were like, I need to change about myself is my anger and start being nice to people. I mean, just beautiful responses from them. So I wouldn't want to change anything because everything she said is really going to help me be a better person and set a good example for other people. So the kids are getting it, and it's even great. And then, again, because I love to take more responsibilities than I have time for in my life, this year I started to become the credit recovery coordinator. After school every day from 3:15 to 5:15, kids are coming to try to make up their credits. We have 2,200 Fs that these students are needing to make up. And obviously not enough room for them because we don't have enough teachers. But with the support of the administrator in charge of both summer school and credit recovery, they're like, we're going to bring it in. We're going to bring in quantum learning into these classrooms because these are the kids that need it. So we have an opportunity now with all of our credit recovery teachers to have a new group that Patty has trained and worked tirelessly in the last 3 weeks to get them so that they can come in and spread the ripple, each one.
Teach one.
That was quick, I didn't hear, huh?
Right. Yes.
How'd I do with my 45 seconds?
45 seconds. The year was 2004. And it was my second year teaching, and I went into my library, and there was a new librarian who was very engaging and a little scary, right? And that's how things are when we get to the edge of our comfort zone. Amazing and a little scary. So she was like, super camp, super camp, super camp. And I was like, what is super camp? And very similar to Patty's conversation that she had with her administrator, she called my administration and was like, you need to go to this tryout in California. And so long story short, I did come, and I was able to, in the beginning of my teaching career, become a super camp facilitator. And I feel so blessed by that because, like Bobby talked about earlier, it really instills joy and engagement in the classroom where the students are giving back energy so that we don't have to continually give it because it becomes part of the culture. I teach AP and IB psychology, advanced placement and international baccalaureate psychology. So there's a lot of content, but when you build that culture, it also is so fun and joyous. Besides the classroom, I also am the AP coordinator and I'm the NHS advisor. So I work with a lot of our student leaders. And those student leaders have been using quantum learning to bring it into the different areas that they work in our schools. And they have also brought it to Restoration Ministries. Restoration Ministries is the biggest nonprofit organization in the South Suburbs, and there is so much need. And so they have gone into our after-school programs there and taught those students quantum learning and the keys. And so they are making an impact with what we have been able to give them as far as quantum learning. Additionally, I am the new teacher coordinator with Metro as well, and so giving the teachers those skills as well to be able to bring it to different areas. We would like to bring you into our culture, so when I say each one, you say teach one. Each one? Teach one.
I grew up in a house with two parents that were both teachers, which is a little unusual, and I knew better, so there's that. But I had the unusual experience to teach with my mom for a couple years. So I taught a year, and then I moved to Thornwood to teach with lots of these people. Actually, I think maybe just Metro was there at the time, but my mom and I had 2 years overlapping. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had been exposed to quantum learning as a high school kid myself because she was part of that initial group that went through the training for their acceleration program. And so, being the kind of mom that Patty is, she brought it all home, and we were, taking multiple intelligence tests and doing all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like I was clued into that in a different way when I went off to college and was taking education classes and tutoring for Upward Bound and doing a lot of summer camp programs and not labeling anything quantum learning. I didn't know that's where some of that interest and love came from, but now I know exactly where that stuff got seeded, early on and things. I think it was my third year. I've been teaching 18, so it's been a bit. I think it was my third year. I was asked to be the Project Chris trainer. Is anyone familiar with Project Chris? So I went off and got training, and then the very next year I met Patty, and it just transformed the idea I had about how to present. And so I started going to all the QLs, 1 through 5, again, a couple times through, maybe 3, mostly to just stuck it in and get better because it resonated. It just reaffirmed all the things that I knew worked best for me, and it packaged it in a way and made things more intentional, which was it's just so good. And to find a community of people doing the things that I knew worked with some language around it, but also with a lens to be a presenter. Like, how can I take some of that I see that's so engaging and so impactful and bring it to the Project Chris training that I was leading for all new teachers? And it was fantastic to put that quantum learning swing on the presentation package that they give you with Chris, because it's the same kind of, here's your script, but to just kind of sneak behind the scenes and QL all of it made my training so much more powerful, which was great. Of my 18 years, 9 of them were in science. I taught horticulture and biomedical sciences and biology, and then the other half have been in art, which is a little strange. And I've taught drawing, digital art. Right now we've got international baccalaureate art, which is pretty great. But what shakes out, no matter what discipline, right, and no matter what age level, is just quality teaching. And QL has been the foundation of all of that. So I feel like no matter where I get put, the same stuff shows up. And I like to teach the direct stuff like we do. You know, here's OTFD, here's above the line, but I really love to find ways to weave it into the content. So in a design class, we're designing posters about above the line and what kind of imagery and colors and lines and stuff we're using to that. Each one. Each one.
Good morning. The cap in our school for algebra is 29 students. In Metro's class in 2012, she had 30. I was 30. I was in there loving what was going on with quantum learning. She made the students feel like they were wanted, so like they mattered. And I was like, what is this? I love it. I was introduced a few years prior. A trainer had come to our school when I lived in Florida, but she was gone. It was gone, and kind of like my tax money. It was gone pretty quickly, and I was like, what was that? What was that? And it was resurfaced when I entered Metro's classroom in algebra. So I've been a co-teacher in various classrooms in the school, various content areas. So I've touched base with a lot of students. And I have grabbed on to quantum learning. It has been, it has grown, for me, it's been exponentially positive. I've incorporated that in my classrooms, from speech to English to business to history. And now I have transitioned. Somebody looked at my file, saw my endorsement for culinary arts. So now I'm in culinary arts, and I continue to use these techniques and strategies to build and connect with my students daily. I'm also a part of the New Teaching Network as well. I'm a mentor for the New Teaching Network, as well as women's empowerment, and I do tons of other things with the students in those areas as well. So it's been an awesome, and of course, because of Brucky, that all came to pass. Each one. Each one.
Hey guys, the atmosphere, the environment, the foundation was set for me at 22 coming into teaching to be involved in QL. So prior to ever being a teacher, I was trained by these people. And that set up my career. I am a social studies teacher. I teach AP Geography, World History, Economics, and I'm a coach. I coach baseball, I coach girls basketball, but these people have trained me to be a QL teacher, to be a facilitator in Singapore, in the Philippines, here at Stanford as well. It is who I am as a teacher. And this foundation was set for me to purposefully change lives because of these people here. Each one. Each one.